In the fading golden light of a late summer afternoon, Buckingham Palace stands as a beacon of history and tradition. Its honey-colored stone glows warmly under the softening sun, and the Union Jack flutters gently above, a silent sentinel over London's heart. The air carries the faint hum of the city's distant traffic, the chatter of tourists, the occasional coo of pigeons settling on the palace railings. In the forecourt, a sacred moment is about to unfold, one that will etch itself into the memories of all who witness it. At the center of this moment is James Whitmore, a 92-year-old veteran of the Second World War, seated in a weathered wheelchair. His frail frame is draped in a military uniform that has not seen daylight in decades. The olive green fabric is faded, its seams frayed, but the rows of medals pinned to his chest gleam with a fierce pride. Each ribbon, each star, tells a story of Normandy's blood-soaked beaches, of comrades lost in the chaos of battle, of a young man who carried his country's hopes through the darkest of days. James's hands, gnarled and trembling, rest lightly on the arms of his chair. His eyes, though clouded with age, burn with a quiet determination. Today, he has come to fulfill a final wish, to salute the royal guard one last time, to stand or sit in the presence of the tradition he fought to protect. Before him, a young guardsman stands at his post, a living embodiment of discipline. His scarlet tunic is pristine, his towering bearskin hat casting a shadow across his youthful face. Private Thomas Harrow, barely 22, has been trained to perfection. His posture is flawless, his gaze fixed forward, his rifle held at precisely the correct angle. To the tourists snapping photos and waving miniature flags, he is a statue, a symbol of the monarchy's enduring strength. But beneath the polished exterior, Thomas is a man, one who grew up hearing stories of his own grandfather's service in the war, stories that filled him with awe and a sense of duty. The crowd around the palace gates is a vibrant tapestry of faces. Families on holiday, students sketching the architecture, locals pausing on their evening commute. They chatter and laugh, their voices a lively hum. But as James's wheelchair is guided to the front of the forecourt, a hush begins to spread. A nurse, her expression tender, adjusts the blanket over James's knees. His great-granddaughter, Emily, a bright-eyed girl of 12, stands beside him, clutching his hand. She wears a poppy pin on her jacket, a nod to the sacrifices of her great-grandfather's generation. The tourists, sensing something extraordinary, lower their cameras and lean closer, their curiosity giving way to reverence. James's journey to this moment has been long and arduous. Born in a small village in Yorkshire, he was just 17 when he enlisted, lying about his age to join the fight against tyranny. He landed on Gold Beach in June 1944, a boy thrust into a maelstrom of gunfire and smoke. He carried a Bren gun through the Normandy campaign, watched friends fall in the hedgerows, and held a dying sergeant's hand as the life drained from his eyes. James survived the war, but it never left him. The nightmares, the guilt, the weight of memory, they followed him through the decades, through a quiet life as a schoolteacher, a husband, a father. Now, in the twilight of his years, with his health failing and his days numbered, he has one last wish: to honor the institution he fought for, to feel, for one fleeting moment, the pride of his youth. The palace forecourt is steeped in tradition, the changing of the guard, a ceremony older than the nation itself, is a ballet of precision. The guards move in perfect unison, their boots striking the ground with a rhythmic thud, their faces impassive. To break formation, to acknowledge the crowd, is forbidden. Thomas knows this. He has spent months training, learning to ignore distractions, to suppress discomfort, to embody the stoic ideal of the Grenadier Guards. His commander's words echo in his mind. You are the face of the crown. Your duty is to stand, to endure, to be more than a man. Yet, as he stands at his post, his peripheral vision catches the glint of James's medals, the trembling hand resting on the wheelchair, the proud but fragile figure before him. The crowd grows quieter. the weight of the moment settling over them like a sacred vow. A breeze stirs, rustling the leaves of the plane trees lining the mall, and the golden light bathes James in a soft glow, as if the heavens themselves are watching. Emily whispers something to her great-grandfather, her voice too soft to carry, and James nods, his lips curving into a faint smile. He lifts his head, his gaze locking onto Thomas. For a moment, the world narrows to these two men, one at the end of his life, one at the beginning of his service, bound by a shared legacy of sacrifice. With the effort that seems to draw on every ounce of his strength, James raises his right hand. It trembles violently, the fingers gnarled with arthritis, the skin thin as parchment. Slowly, painfully, he brings it to his forehead in a salute. The gesture is not crisp, not military perfect, but it is profound, a testament to a lifetime of courage. His medals clink softly, catching the light, and his eyes, wet with unshed tears, never leave Thomas's face. The crowd falls silent, the air thick with emotion. A mother clutches her son's hand, her eyes brimming. A group of tourists from Australia, their faces weathered by travel, bow their heads in respect. An elderly man in the back, his own military beret perched proudly, wipes a tear from his cheek. Emily's breath catches, her small hand tightening around James's. The nurse, standing behind the wheelchair, presses a hand to her mouth, her shoulders shaking. This is no ordinary moment. This is history, memory, and gratitude woven into a single, fragile act. Thomas stands motionless, as his training demands. The rules are clear. No acknowledgement, no deviation, no breach of protocol. The eyes of the world are on him, not just the crowd, but the legacy of the guard itself. To move is to risk reprimand, to tarnish the honor of his unit. Yet, as he watches James's trembling salute, something stirs within him. He thinks of his grandfather, who flew Spitfires in the Battle of Britain, who spoke of the men who never came home. He thinks of the stories that shaped him, of the debt owed to those who stood against darkness. And he sees, in James's weathered face, the reflection of every soldier who fought for the freedom he now guards. Thomas's eyes soften, a flicker of emotion breaking through his stoic mask. The crowd holds its breath, sensing the tension, the unspoken question hanging in the air. Will he stand firm, as duty demands, or will he answer the call of something deeper? Then, in a moment that feels both inevitable and miraculous, Thomas moves, slowly, deliberately. He raises his right hand, his white-gloved fingers crisp against the scarlet of his sleeve. His salute is perfect, a mirror to James's trembling gesture, but it is more than a military honor. It is a bridge across generations, a recognition of sacrifice, a promise that the past will not be forgotten. His eyes meet James's, and in that fleeting connection, a silent vow is made. The crowd erupts, a wave of applause and cheers, breaking the silence. Tears flow freely, now tourists, locals, children, all caught in the raw beauty of the moment. A woman in a hijab claps, her face radiant with emotion. A young man hoists his toddler onto his shoulders, whispering, "Look, that's what heroes do." In the back, a group of elderly veterans, their faces lined with the weight of their own memories, raise their hands in salute, their movements slow but steady. The forecourt becomes a sea of raised hands, a collective tribute to James and all who served. James's hand falls back to his lap, his strength spent, but his face glows with a peace that transcends his frail body. Emily leans down, wrapping her arms around him, her cheek pressed against his. "You did it, Grandad," she whispers, her voice thick with pride. The nurse steps forward, adjusting James's blanket, her hands gentle but trembling. The crowd continues to cheer, their voices a chorus of gratitude, but James's eyes remain on Thomas, a faint smile playing on his lips. In a voice barely above a whisper, James speaks, his words carrying the weight of a lifetime. "Thank you for not forgetting us." Thomas lowers his hand, returning to his post, but the moment has changed him. He stands taller now, not just as a guard, but as a man who understands the true meaning of duty. The crowd begins to disperse, some lingering to take photos, others to share stories of their own loved ones who served. The golden light fades, giving way to the soft purple of dusk, and the palace settles back into its quiet majesty. But the echo of that salute lingers, a memory that will live in the hearts of all who witnessed it. James is wheeled away, Emily walking beside him, her hand never leaving his. The nurse pushes the chair with care, her eyes still wet with tears. As they pass through the crowd, strangers reach out, some to touch James's shoulder, others to offer words of thanks. An elderly woman presses a poppy into Emily's hand, her voice soft. "For your great-grandfather. Tell him we'll always remember." That evening, Thomas faces his commanding officer, Captain Edward Langley, in a stark office within the barracks. Langley, a man of rigid discipline, sits behind a desk cluttered with paperwork. "Private Harrow," he says, his tone clipped. "You broke protocol today. You acknowledged a civilian during duty. This is a serious breach." Thomas stands at attention, his face calm but resolute. "Sir, I understand the rules, but that man, Mr. Whitmore, he fought for us, for this country, for the crown. I couldn't let his salute go unanswered. It was about respect." Langley leans back, his eyes narrowing. "Respect is important, Harrow, but so is discipline. The guard is a symbol, a tradition that holds this nation together. I know, see," Thomas says, his voice steady. "But sometimes tradition means honoring those who made it possible. Mr. Whitmore deserved that salute. I do it again." The room is silent, the weight of Thomas's words hanging in the air. Langley studies him, his stern expression softening just slightly. "You'll face a formal review," he says finally. "But for what it's worth, Harrow, I served with men like Whitmore. They were the backbone of this country. Your actions today, they meant something." Thomas nods, a quiet pride swelling in his chest. He leaves the office, the night air cool against his face. The barracks are quiet, his comrades asleep or on duty. But Thomas feels a connection to something larger. A lineage of service, of sacrifice, of moments that define a nation. In the days that follow, the story spreads. A tourist's video of the salute goes viral, shared across social media, with captions of awe and gratitude. Newspapers run headlines. "Veterans' final salute answered by Royal Guard. A moment of honor at Buckingham Palace." James, resting in a hospice in Yorkshire, sees the story. On the evening news, he smiles, his hand resting on Emily's, and whispers, "It was worth it." The hospice staff note a change in James after that day. Though his body grows weaker, his spirit seems lighter, as if a weight has been lifted. He spends his final weeks telling stories to Emily, his voice frail but warm, passing on the lessons of his life. When he passes, quietly in his sleep, the hospice room is filled with poppies, sent by strangers who heard his story. Emily keeps one pressed in a book, a reminder of the great-grandfather who taught her the meaning of courage. Thomas, too, carries the moment with him. The review board issues a minor reprimand, but his comrades treat him with a new respect. He returns to his post, standing once more in the shadow of the palace. But now he scans the crowd with a different eye. He looks for the stories behind the faces, the histories that bind them all. And sometimes, when the light catches just right, he thinks of James, of the trembling hand, of the salute that bridged their worlds. The story of James and Thomas is more than a moment. It is a reminder that a single act, a single gesture, can carry the weight of generations. A salute, simple yet profound, holds within it the gratitude of a nation, the memory of those who fought, and the promise that their sacrifices will never be forgotten. It teaches us that tradition is not just about standing still, but about reaching out, about honoring the past while building the future. And so, we ask you, if you stood before someone who gave everything for your freedom, would you hold fast to the rules, or would you break them to say thank you? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Tell us what you would choose. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell to join us for more stories of courage, honor, and humanity. Together, let's keep the flame of gratitude burning bright.